Hello, my name is Madison. It's nice to see you. I'm glad you could make it. You guys know I am to my core a mood reader, a mood rater, and if a book gives me that like 5-star feeling, it is a 5-star read. But that does mean that I have been in the past quick to give a book a 5-star. This was my first like real intense year as a reader of reading quite literally every single day to the point that I made it my job. But that does mean that I am quite confident that there are some books that I've rated 5 stars this year that I don't think if I were to look back are 5 stars. I feel like for me a 5-star read is like not necessarily perfect in every way, shape, and form, but it's perfect for me and I leave the book and I think about it consistently and I recommend it all the time. And I definitely don't think that's the case for every single one of these 5-star reads from this year that are sitting right here in front of me. That being said, we are going to go through every single book that I rated 5 stars this year and see if they are still 5-star reads to me or if they're kind of like not so much anymore. They're kind of in order, but they're kind of not. So it's kind of in no particular order. Starting off, we have Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. 6-star motherfucking read. 6-star read in every way, shape, and form. This is one of the most amazing, beautiful books I've read in my entire life, and I listened to it on audio, and I will be going back in 2024 to reread this, physically have the book, annotate the entire thing, because the found family in this duet is unlike anything that I've ever read, anything I've ever fucking heard. It's amazing. The Six of Crows duet follows this like ragtag of criminals, for lack of a better word, as they go on in the first book, this huge heist that doesn't go according to plan, and then leads straight into the second one, which is just like heist on scheme on it didn't work. Where are we gonna go from here? And just like the relationships that are strewn within this book, within such a complicated but well executed scheming plotline, was gold. And Leigh Bardugo did something magical with this duet. Oh my god, especially with Crooked Kingdom. This will live rent free in my head forever. Like, I want this framed. Then we have 2 of my favorite books from the Chestnut Spring series. We have the 3rd Powerless and the 4th Reckless, and without a single doubt, yes, I took a huge gap between reading Powerless and reading Reckless, and it just like the second I got back into Elsie Silver's writing, I was like, yeah, 100%. If you guys don't already associate me with this and Magnolia Parks, I don't know what to tell you. These are my 2 favorite romance series and I preach about them an ungodly amount. The Chestnut Spring series is based in Alberta, Canada, and it is these cool fucking likable girls and their relationships with the Eaton boys, which are these cowboy boys from Alberta that are just like, they don't exist in real life, but thank you Elsie Silver for writing them. These are cowboy romance perfection and they are both still 5 stars for sure, and like this is a 6-star. Jasper and Sloane's story, perfection. Serpent in the Wings of the Night and Six Scorched Roses by Carissa Broadbent. I read this kind of at a time that I felt like I was about to fall into a reading slump, and I did it for my Instagram Choose My Reads for the Week video, which is up on my channel if you want to watch it. And this reminded me why I loved reading again. The balance between beautiful writing, amazing storytelling, really interesting, and enough of the plot being driven by characters was perfection. The world building in this, you almost don't even notice it's going on, but you feel so invested by the end. This follows Araya, who is a human girl living in the vampire lands as she's been adopted by the Vampire King. And every 100 years, Nyaxia, their god, holds this tournament where they have to compete in these games and one person is going to win a wish from her. She ends up making a very unlikely companion in this that's enemies to lovers and just like gold. And then this is the novella that comes before The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, the 2nd book in this duet. This is, without it, like, it was beautiful. I don't think I could have annotated a 100-page book more than I annotated this. And this follows Lilith, who is a very, very fragile human who is literally clinging on to life. An illness has struck her town and everyone is miraculously dying, and she is working to her very last breath to try and find a cure for it, even going to the length of finding a vampire and getting 6 vials of his blood to try and find a cure. Carissa Broadbent is quickly becoming one of my favorite authors. Like, the way that these books made me feel, yeah, they're still 5 stars. I'm guessing that's gonna be a trend. 6 stars. I'm sorry, oh my god. Okay, 6 stars. One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. I have a quote from this tattooed on my body. That's how much I loved this. I did a week of reading Olivia Blake and this was what made me want to film that video, and like I want to feel how I felt reading in that weekend. It was dense, it was hard. Like, her writing is very, very poetic and important feeling and pretentious. Like, there's no other way to say it. I felt like I went into this knowing that it was a Romeo and Juliet retelling but with witches in modern day New York. So it was fun and exciting and fantasy-y, but I went in feeling like it was as important as reading something like Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet, and the pretentiousness of the writing just gave it this romantic, amazing air that I don't think I've ever seen replicated, and I am desperately waiting for the Atlas Complex to come out so that I can read something else in one of her worlds. Her writing just like, it's kind of top tier. You either love it or you hate it. It's not for everyone, but like, oh my god, did I love it. And I've been tagged in so many things that you guys are loving it as well, and you guys are giving it 5 stars as well. The romance in this is just like, I think one of my favorites from the entire year. It is so unlikely and it's not what you expect, but it's so beautiful and poetic, and it's between witches in modern day New York, but it's Romeo and Juliet retelling. I don't even know how her brain came up with that. Thank you for bringing that into the world, all of you. Miss Emily Henry. We have Beach Read, we have Book Lovers, and we have Happy Place. I want to say, yeah, these 100% gave me the 5-star feeling. I feel like if I read these again now, Beach Read and Happy Place would 100% say 5 stars, but I didn't think about Book Lovers a lot after finishing it. I loved the whole plot line of it. Book about editors and like about book tropes, and that was where like the romance bounced off of, but I didn't think about it a lot after I finished it versus Beach Read I think about all of the time and I recommend all of the time, and Harriet and Wynn's story, it was so good. I do think Emily Henry's repertoire as a whole, even people we meet on vacation, is very much like 5-star worthy. I do think that Book Lovers is probably like more of a 4.5, 4.75 for me now if I were to read it for the first time now. Not that I'm going to change my rating, but that's probably where I would put it now. Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. This definitely gave me a 5-star feeling in the moment, and this was like honestly earlier in my like fantasy romantasy journey. I loved it for that. I don't know if looking back it would still be a 5-star for me. I've seen on social media a lot now of like plot holes or like little problems or like people's criticism on it, and I'm like, yeah, I get that, but I definitely go into books rose-colored glasses wanting to blindly enjoy them, and this definitely without a doubt gave me the 5-star feeling. Everything Violet and Xaden just like I love, and I do think that if I reread it, it would probably still give me a 5-star feeling, so I think this is a 5-star for me. Caraval by Stephanie Garber. Yes, this is the definition of, oh my god, this book is made of descriptive imagery. So much descriptive imagery, and if you are the type of person who loves a good aesthetic photo dump, who is annotating their books all the time, loves beautiful writing, I think that you would love this, but I do think if you love like a really plot-driven or character-driven story, there's gonna be way too many descriptors in this for you, so when people criticize this, I get it, but for me, 6 stars. It was so beautiful. I will say Legendary and Finale definitely weren't as good as this. I don't know if it was just the first book feeling. It's definitely a 5-star series, but this first one, beautiful. This book follows Scarlett and Donatella, and all of Stephanie Garber's worlds have these female main characters that live in these worlds with so much magic, but their lives have been so hard that they just kind of have no reason to believe in it anymore. Scarlett and Donatella have been writing to Legend, the Master of Caraval, which is these games that go on every year, to try and get invited. Finally, when they are older, they get invited and they end up on this 5-day adventure where you can't trust your ears, you can't trust your eyes, where Legend, the Caraval Master, is like creating this entire fantasy world, and whoever solves the riddle wins a magical prize. It usually ends up being something not so great and something you don't even really want. This is without a doubt one of my favorite reads from the entire year, and if you have not read this yet, get on it. That's all I have to say. Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This is one of the most poetic, beautiful, amazing, romantic, really light fantasies that I have ever read, and I think about this legitimately daily. And if people are trying to get into fantasy and they haven't read a lot of fantasy, this is always the first one I recommend, because if you love romance, like, this is romantic. This basically follows Iris and Roman. There's a war going on where there used to be 6 gods that have been killed and buried, but 2 of them have come back and they're waging war against each other and enlisting humans in the process, and Iris's own brother has enlisted in the war effort, and she spends every single night writing letters to him on a typewriter that her grandmother gave her with no address to send them, shoving them in her closet, until one day she gets a letter back that says, "This isn't Forrest," her brother, if I didn't say that. And it turns out her and her rival have magically connected typewriters, and just where this story goes, utter sobs. Spy Thread by Lucy Score. This was in the moment without a doubt a 6-star feeling. Like, this was one of my first real big favorite slow burn romances, and I still stand by it. I think it is so beautiful. It is definitely really long, but like the romance and the slow burn and the tension in it couldn't have been done better. The characters in this are so developed, so well thought out, and I honestly wouldn't take a page, a sentence, a word out of this book, even though it is long. This follows Dominic and Allie is working like 27 jobs to try and keep up with all of her bills and keeping her dad in a good care facility. Dom is like our grumpy boss, and he walks into a place that she's serving and he's doing something he's not supposed to, and she puts him in his place, and he's like, "I'm a rich asshole, I'm gonna get you fired." But then his mom is like, "I love love her attitude. I'm hiring her at Label, the fashion magazine that I own, that you're the creative director of, and it's just like sexual tension, slow burn, romance gold. Whole storyline that surrounds everything and like everything that in sight. I just think it was really beautifully done, and it was definitely my favorite slow burn of the year. The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. I gave this 6 stars when I first read it because it gave me real 5-star feeling. Looking back, I would definitely, there's no world after everything that I've read this year that this would be given a 5-star now. I think it's more of like a 4.5. It's like silly, not very important, like not a lot goes on. It's just like an enjoyable little read, which at the time was 100% a 5-star for me, but after being in the reading era that I am now in, so much fantasy, of so much like series, big plots, this wouldn't do the same for me what it did then. I still love all 3 from this series. The Dreamland Billionaire series basically follows 3 brothers in each book and their romances because their grandfathers passed away and he owned the Dreamland Corporation, which is kind of like Disney, and to get their portion of the inheritance they all have to complete a task, follows their task, and then this love story that leads on from there. Not a lot goes on. It's not super high stakes. It's super fun and like an easy light read, and I still recommend it as like a fluffy little romance read, but it definitely wouldn't be a 5-star if I read it today. Rock Paper Scissors by Alice Feeney. This definitely gave me a 5-star feeling, and the whole plot line of this is so cool and so interesting. This is probably the only thriller that I've ever given 5 stars, and I stand by it, although one of my best friends read this and anticipated the end like right off of the jump, and I was like, maybe I went in a little too blind and turned my brain off a little bit too much, because maybe for everyone else this wouldn't be a 5-star, but I still recommend it to my core. This is a 5-star to me, but I do think if I went in with the intention to guess what was going on, it might not have been. But the twist in this got me, which is like what I need in a thriller. Just thinking about all the twists again, I think this is so beautifully and amazingly done. Basically follows Adam and Amelia. Adam has face blindness, which means he can't even recognize himself in the mirror, which it was such a cool plot point. And they're on this weekend away in the Scottish Highlands, and they both are kind of like, it's this weekend or we're getting divorced. They get there and a bunch of weird shit starts happening. I thought this was tied together with a bow. Like I thought this was the perfect thriller. So yeah, for me, 100% a 5-star. Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I get the criticism on this one because the miscommunication trope in this is loud, it is prevalent, it is doing what it is doing. I loved it so much. I loved it so much. I cried so much. I have never felt so represented by a book in my entire life. The portrayal of anxiety in this book, especially in a male main character, lives rent-free in my goddamn head. I get that the miscommunication trope could be super annoying. I didn't find it. I didn't. And if you can put your rose-colored glasses on and just get over the little miscommunications, I loved them. And I love Abby Jimenez's writing, and like this is a goddamn 5-star. This follows Brianna and Jacob. Jacob has recently moved to work at the hospital that Brianna is also working at, but he's super socially anxious, and everybody kind of thinks he's weird, but him and Brianna end up starting to talk by passing letters. It means so much to him because he feels like he can communicate like that, and she doesn't really think anything of it, and then they end up in a little fake dating trope. So funny and so fun. Feels like a very contemporary modern take on like romance tropes and stories that like you've heard 100 times. Her writing, her take, her prose on this type of romance was just perfect in my eyes, and I recommend it through and through. And I will give the caveat, you don't like miscommunication, you're not gonna like that. Court of Wings and Ruin and A Court of Silver Flames. Yes, I am to my core an ACOWAR girly, and I am to my core a Nesta sympathizer. I don't think I need to explain anymore. This series is without a doubt one of my favorite reads ever. This is my first and only SJM series that I've read so far, and I will be dedicating the beginning of 2024 to getting through the Throne of Glass series, and I will be filming it for a video on here. Without a doubt, 6 stars. I cannot find a flaw in these 2, and like they're all so great. These are just the best in my opinion. Absolutely no hesitation at all. 6-star series. 6-star series. These are the books that I started the year off, and these are the books that I base my entire personality on now. I have a quote from The Great Undoing tattooed on my body. It was my very first book quote ever. This series lives quite literally rent-free in my head every single day, and I know you guys know this because I know that you guys literally associate me synonymously with this series. Jessa did something, she altered my brain chemistry. This altered my brain chemistry. The whole Magnolia Park series is London High Society meets Gossip Girl, but with so much toxicity, so much drama. It's so good. And I get that a lot of people don't like the toxicity, they don't like the drama, a lot of the more sad, serious tropes that are in this series, but like if you love Sex in the City and you loved Gossip Girl, I think you'll love this. Rent fucking free. Entire series, 6 stars across the board. February 13th cannot come close enough, and if there was a world that you thought that I was not going to give these 5 stars till the day that I die, you were wrong. I was honestly anticipating to change my mind and a lot more of these reads, and all I can ask for is that I get this many 5 stars next year, because if I could feel like this every single time I pick up a book, my life would be perfect. Let me know what your guys' like #1 5-star reads are, or if we have some of the same ones. It is officially time for 2024. I'm planning on being on here a lot more frequently this year, so if you guys want to stick around, I would love that. Love you. Bye.